Tolongali everyone. As she mentioned, my name is Etuate. I'm from Nombototau. If you're still wondering where Nombototau is, I think the Honorable Minister has been to Nombototau. It's right in the middle of Italy. So the past 3 years, we've been working in partnership with Talanoa Treks as a hiking and trekking company. During those past 3 years, I've learned and experienced a lot. Through this experience, through this experience, I've grown more confident as a guide. I'm one of the guides at the community in Nombototau, and also as a Fijian, showcasing my culture and tradition. And it is one of the things that we try to engage the visitors is the do's and the don'ts in our culture. It's amazing when you see how the visitors respond to these things. In the village, it's always amazing when visitors come, they want to learn about us. But for us too, we have to learn their culture and also their lifestyle. One of the things that we do as a Fijian, we take for granted the little things that we have. Take for example, there's a view that we have at Nombototau. There's this, we go to fish in the Singatoka River, right in the up end of the Singatoka River. There's this spot that we go up to, like we go when we were about to go down to the river, we rest there, then we go down to the river, we come up, we rest there, then we go to the village. And when we take visitors over there, we have these, wow, this is amazing. And that's one of the things that we got shocked because we've been staying there all this time and we didn't even know that. So as a Fijian in the tourism industry, I think we should be proud of our unique culture and tradition. And also our food. For me personally, I think Fiji has it all. From the coral right into the interior of Italy. Sustainable tourism is the way forward for Fiji. I think it is up to us to make it happen. Pinakabalik.
There's a spot in the upper reaches of the Singatoka River that's viewable from the point that Etu was just mentioning. And there's a perfectly placed boulder right in the middle of the river. And lying on that rock, warmed by the sun, listening to the river and listening to the birds, I think is probably the place that I feel most at peace. I first visited Nombototau, Etu's Koronivasu, about 10 years ago. My husband and I are both hikers, and so obviously the first thing that we did when we arrived in Fiji was find places to go hiking. And I still remember that first visit vividly. We'd rocked up after a day's hike. We'd made arrangements with the Turani Koro of the time, Mr. Vilitate Rokovesa, in advance, and he was waiting for us at the village boundary with a jug of fresh kumquat juice and some guidance on how we were to tie our sulus, where we should enter the community hall, and to explain his role in presenting our sevu sevu on our behalf. Fast forward about 5 years, and Mr. Rocco asked us if we would be willing to help the community to bring more visitors to Nombototau. And not just as Suva gang, but real tourists. People who might only have a couple of weeks in Fiji, but wanted to experience more than just maybe the coast, and get up to experience the welcome in the highlands. And our first reaction was, no, we were definitely not the right people to help you do that. First off, we didn't have any business background. We had no background in the tourism industry. And most importantly, we weren't from Fiji. We didn't have a hope of understanding some of the complexities of the culture, of community relationships, and our Fijian was conversational at best. But Mr. Rocco kept persisting, and eventually, his idea, we began to see as an opportunity. We've never been people to shy away from a challenge, and so eventually he managed to convince us that it would be a sensible thing to do. I'm an environmental economist by background, so a lot of my work has often been about trying to find ways to conserve the environment in an increasingly economic system that there's a lot of pressure and a lot of incentives to destroy it. But hiking is one of those things that allows you to spend more time in nature and allows you to appreciate it a bit more. And it also helps to generate income streams, which can help to preserve or help to create the incentives to preserve the environment. And in New Zealand, 200,000 tourists a year go just for hiking. This is a bridge on a relatively remote trail, so not actually used by that many hikers. And this is some of the kind of infrastructure which is behind that industry. They generate 15 million New Zealand dollars through the Department of Conservation, who manages the land in partnership with local communities, and hundreds of millions more in sales tax through hiking tourism. And adventure tourism is on the up. Since 2009, it's grown by over 65%. So this is an industry that we should be interested in promoting. So armed only with some advice and some persuasion from our friends in Numbutautau, with a set of values that we felt were important in setting up a business, we sought the advice of a lot of established operators in Fiji, people that had been doing this for a lot longer than we had, and established conservationists working in the environment sector. The late Kalinio Mothe gave us probably what has stood us in the best stead so far. And he took us personally to every provincial office of the 4 communities we were proposing to partner with. And unfortunately, because they're all up in the middle of Fiji, there was 4 of them. So we did a round circuit of Viti Levu in a day the first time to visit the provincial offices in Naitasiri, in Ra, in Ba, and in Nandronganavosa. And the provincial offices have remained a crucial partner. They have continued to provide both the communities with advice, but also ourselves with advice. They're the 3rd signatories to all the agreements that we have with the communities, and their help has been invaluable. So at the top of that list of values we were talking about was a value around having a genuine partnership with the communities that we partner with. And that meant involving them from the very beginning to get their advice about the way that they wanted the business to be set up. After all, it was their idea. So one of the things that came out of those initial consultations was they knew how to host people. The hospitality of the highlands is second to none. But what they needed help with was marketing, logistics, and training. So that's what we stick to. We get the guests to them, and that's where they take over. So all of the guides are selected by the community enterprise, and they show you their land. They show you their fishing spots, they show you their favorite swimming spots, they show you an amazing water slide, which we had to be working with them for 8 years before they told us about. So I'm hopeful that there are lots of other secrets out there just waiting to emerge. And in those early Talanoa sessions, one of the things that was really interesting was they kept asking us what we wanted them to do. You know, did we want them to put on a meke? Did we want them to, bring out the guitars? And it was a strange question for us because for the previous 5 years where we'd just been going up as friends, that had never been an issue. Every evening we would sit around talking, we would be maybe playing cards or vindi. And so our reaction then, as it still is, well, that's up to you guys, For us, it's enough to host people as you would normally host them. If you want to do something special, that's entirely up to you. But those decisions, once we get people to you, that's within your tourism enterprise, and you make those calls. And it's one of the things I think that most guests get out of the visit. We're so busy these days. We're so rarely away from our devices for longer than a couple of hours. So it's to spend days off them and to spend days just talking to each other and engaging with people properly is something that at the end of a 4-day trip, a lot of the visitors will say to us, wow, I don't remember the last time that I spent 4 days just actually talking. At the heart of the relationship is also honesty, trust, and openness. So our accounts are open to the communities that we work with. We sit down once a year at least, but more regularly if we can, to present those accounts. And it's also an opportunity for the tourism enterprise at the community level to present back to the village meeting. And we also go through the value chain, so everybody understands exactly where everything goes. And that's really important from us from a values perspective, but I actually think it's the only way that it can be done sustainably. We're also very privileged to still have the provincial offices of the 4 provinces and also the district office up in Nandarivatu that attends those meetings. And all of this, not just our little tiny hiking business, but everything that we've been talking about today, is founded on the environment, the land, the ocean, and everything that it connects it. So our forests, our mangroves, our rivers, our beaches, our reefs. And just like that view that Etu was talking about taking for granted, we have to be really careful that we're not taking the roots of our tourism industry for granted. Every year, unfortunately, there are hills on fire. There are forests and mangroves being cleared. And you only have to drive around Viti Levu and pull into a lovely viewing point, which unfortunately, more often than not, will be littered. And somebody will have made the decision that they wanted to enjoy a nice view over their lunch and they wanted to ruin it for everybody else who's coming after them. And it's something that we really have to get serious about. I don't know how many times I've beat my horn behind a car or a bus where something's been thrown out of the window. And the scary part is that sometimes people don't even know why I'm honking. So this is something that we do have to get serious about. Talanoa Treks is very much a work in progress, and we don't have the answers. And when Sharon asked me to talk, I was pretty reluctant, because the Talanoa in Talanoa Treks has always been the community's Talanoa, the community's stories. And we're really privileged to work in partnership with Numbutautau, Nanga, Navai, Nambalasere, and Bulo's Lodge. And they have taught us a lot about sustainable tourism. They've taught us a lot about Fiji, and they've taught us a lot about ourselves. They've taught us about the value of community, something that we're losing rapidly. They've taught us about respect. And at this point, I also want to make special mention to all of the women in those villages. We have to get Lance up there at some point, because the food that they prepare for all of our hikers is another thing that those guys who are used to carrying those freeze-dried packs on their hikes in New Zealand, you should see their faces when the Imbenikana's rolled out and what they get up there in comparison. So for me, sustainable tourism is all about values. It's about defining them, and it's about being true to them. It's about connection of people, of place, and of culture. And it's about promoting environmental responsibility. It's about respecting each other and the environment. And we need more investment that is grounded in environmental conservation, energy efficiency, good waste management. Not just as a CSR, not just as a corporate social responsibility add-on, but as a fundamental way of the way that the business operates. And walking along this river, with the sun gradually coming down, I think it's possible. We just need to find ways to work a little bit harder together. Naka.